Shafley spent 40 years telling women they weren't as good as men, and she was right. Because when she died, I was only half as happy as I was when Scalia did. The LA Times of September 12, 2016 tells us Mrs. Shafley hated feminism and thought every woman should be a homemaker, even though she had a full-time career, 6 kids, and a housekeeper. The liberal media says she died of old age, but I think we all know what killed her. She finally choked on her own hypocrisy. Or maybe she realized she lost her culture war. New York Magazine of February 12, 2016 explains, for the first time in our country's history, single women outnumbered married women. In fact, 80% of us 18 to 29-year-olds are as Shafley or 1898 would have put it. Deeply unfulfilled spinsters just praying for a man. Or rain. I just assume they prayed for rain a lot in 1898. But this singlehood has implications far beyond cat populations. The same New York Magazine article argues, it's the creation of an entirely new American. Adult women who are no longer economically, socially, sexually, or reproductively defined by the men they marry. And yet, the first thing my grandma has asked me every Christmas since freshman year is, so, are you dating anyone? It got so bad I finally just made up a boyfriend named Dick, so now she says, so how's Dick? And I say, really good, Grandma. Dick is really good. Basically, more women than ever are staying single by choice, making independent female adulthood the norm, but we're still living in a world built for relationships. So if you like it, you don't need to put a ring on it. Let's talk about what's happening, why it's awesome, and how to support the newest women's liberation. And then we will stock up on Plan B because Trump is president. It's got a 4-year shelf life that is not an accident. And lesbians don't get out of this. They get out of dating men, not sexism. Otto Stradel explained on September 3rd, 2016, the moment marriage equality happened, parents went marriage crazy. But just because you can doesn't mean you want to. Think gas station hot dogs. Okay, I want to. How we push marriage on women interpersonally and culturally. First, the Washington Post on September 3rd, 2016 explains, we still look at single women like failed potential wives. Poor Abby Supernaut. They whisper to each other at the church basement pancake breakfast. She'll never get rid of that last name. Basically, we assume single women are always looking, so we constantly bring it up in conversation. And the media does it too. The New York Post on September 3rd, 2016 explained, ladies, stop being so damn picky and maybe you'll find a good man. That's like walking into Subway and saying no. Give me whatever you think is best, sandwich artist. And The Guardian reminded me on September 22nd, 2016, that my biological clock is ticking. Which finally explains why bomb-sniffing dogs in airports come right at me. Where structurally everything from tax credits to health insurance was built to benefit couples. The New York Times on September 22nd, 2016 explains, Illinois legislators are considering a bill that would deny state funding to any child whose mother doesn't list a father on their birth certificate. It's like they're asking every mom in Illinois to make up a name. Who's the father? Barack Obama. Finally, he is on thousands of birth certificates. And the Washington Post on September 3rd, 2016 explained, Wisconsin legislators are considering a bill that would criminalize single parenthood as a form of child abuse. But notice, they propose no legislation about single, old Italian men building kids out of wood. Someone should have put Geppetto on birth control. So like, oven mitts. Over on Reddit, the digital equivalent of a man who watches porn on an airplane, it was asked, is there a female version of a bachelor pad? Highest rated answer, a spinster's cave. Spinster. Are we in 1898? Grandpa, what are you doing on Reddit? You lost your internet privileges after that airplane ride. 4 things single women are making awesome for everyone. The workplace, politics, culture, and the increasing number of vodka flavors. 1, the workplace. The Pew Research Center in February of 2016 found a college-educated woman who waits to get married until her 30s makes $18,000 a year more than the gal who gets married in her 20s. So if you've ever been at a wedding for 2 23-year-olds feeling sad because you didn't get a date and you're telling everyone, I'm here with friends, even though we know that means you just didn't get a +1, don't worry about it. You get money, which is so much better than people. Because it buys things. And we're making politics better too. Nate Silver mansplained on October 2nd, 2016, while we single ladies have a reputation of being a wee bit emotional, we're not. We're the rational ones in the voting booth. Exhibit A, we voted for Hillary overwhelmingly, whereas the majority of married women voted for Trump. I may not have a wedding dress, but at least I have a soul. And the aforementioned salon explains single women are the reason pay equity. Paid family leave, a higher minimum wage, universal pre-K, and birth control are no longer too risky for the mainstream. Still too risky for the mainstream. The mortality of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We're going to Plan B, Ruth. We just need you to have a shelf life of 4 more years. And finally, culture. In her March 2016 book, All the Single Ladies, Rebecca Traister argues, puns sell books. And while conservatives were all clutching their pearls, worrying that we single ladies were destroying the American family, we actually saved the institution of marriage. Turns out throwing 20-year-olds into weddings in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s led to record-high divorce levels. It's almost as if you shouldn't make a lifetime commitment while you still think Applebee's is fancy. In his 1957 piece for Harper's, Charles Cole, the president of Amherst College at the time, wrote, "A woman who gets to her junior year without having acquired a man is in grave danger of becoming an old maid. Not just regular danger, grave." So how do we solve this complex, difficult social problem? It's a big one to solve. Julio, I'm sorry, was this yours? Real solutions. How to deal with the single ladies. Embrace it and support it. First, to all my ladies, you shouldn't feel like marriage is something you have to do on anyone's timetable. Get married when you're 20 or 30 or never at all. And don't forget the New York Times on January 30th, 2017 reminds, relying on strong friends isn't a consolation prize to marriage. Friends can provide companions, security, even sex. In fact, there are only 3 things you can do with a spouse you can't do with a friend. File joint taxes, get out of testifying against them in court, and registering at Crate and Barrel. I have asked. They won't let you. And everyone else, back off. Mom, please stop sending me copies of the Practical Catholic's Guide to Dating. I don't read them. And if you wanted me to stay Catholic, you should have prayed harder. Everyday Feminism on January 22nd, 2017 pleads with all of you. Please stop asking single women if we're looking, when we plan on settling down, or if we'd be happier in a relationship. Because the answer is no. Not anytime soon, and no. Instead, treat us like the whole, complete human beings we are, who would still be whole and complete even if we never got married. and talk to us about literally anything else. Politics, pop culture, religion, work, basically, just think of anything you'd say to a man and then say it to a woman. Except, how's it hanging? Fine? In her 1977 book, The Power of a Positive Woman, Phyllis Schlafly wrote, "Don't call me Ms. It means misery." No, it doesn't. It stands for Mississippi. We've discovered what's happening, why it's awesome, and how to support the newest women's liberation. And Phyllis Schlafly is still dead. Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Schlafly is still dead. And so is anyone telling me I have to be a Mrs.